Fires are a harsh reality of life in the bush. Secrets cannot survive a scorched earth. In 2007, a report from the Northern Territory detailed widespread sexual abuse of Aboriginal children. The federal government took extreme action. In the Territory, a wildfire was about to begin.
As akin to a national emergency.
The government will seize control of
Dozens
Aboriginal
of police will be
townships.
sent in from around the ministers seized almost.
The women have their children examined.
Ask the terrified kid huddling in the corner. Ask them if they want a bit of paternalism.
The children deserve and need us to implement things
John
today.
acknowledges it's a dramatic response.
Then we
for
think
a
it
problem
absolutely
that causes
reasonable
wildfire.
that there be intervention.
Children of the tenderest age who've been exposed to the most terrible abuse from the time of their birth virtually.
I think it was a shock for us, and I just came out of the sky.
Protecting children was the intervention's guiding light. Families would be managed by the federal government. Access to cash and alcohol would dry up. All children would have a medical. Truancy would not be tolerated. Police numbers would increase. Aboriginal townships would be seized for 5 years. And the permit system to gain entry into communities would be scrapped. Teams of federal police, public servants and soldiers were dispatched into 73 remote communities throughout the Northern Territory. We spent 12 months recording personal experiences in 4 remote communities near Katherine.
They're on their way. The government officials will be here. Everyone can start making their way over here.
The intervention was due to hit Beswick 9 weeks after the news flash. Public servants were on their way to explain how and why this was happening.
I thought they'd be here, at 9 and obviously get things ready, and the meeting would hopefully start by 10 o'clock. 10:20. Pretty negative message, I think. That, they'll just really do what they want.
Yeah, this is them. There's 2 in a row, I reckon.
The Army are here to support the health department.
The survey that we're doing there.
And Centrelink must explain they will now manage half of everyone's income through quarantining.
If we were to go into government with concerns, it would be a set time and date and who was going to be there, what's expected.
These men have all watched the news. They know the community employment program will be scrapped and they will lose their jobs.
How are you all, guys?
Pushing them onto the dole is the only way Centrelink can manage half their income.
I understand that you guys feel like it's just a blanket across everyone.
Well, it is at the moment.
And it is. Look, the welfare reforms have an emergency response trigger, and people living in prescribed communities will have 50% of their Centrelink benefits quarantined.
Talking about welfare reforms, is it across the board?
I appreciate your concern. As the 50% income management is for a 12-month period as part of this emergency response. What they're looking at doing...
My question to you again, is it going to be including white bad parents and good parents?
Yeah.
Everyone across the board on Centrelink?
Yeah, what they're looking at doing is introducing 100% income management for parents or families that whose children are at risk of neglect, and that will be rolled out across all of Australia.
Yep.
That's definitely coming through. The reason things are happening...
So you start with blackfellas first?
Well, I think the reason it's happening so quickly in the Northern Territory is in response to the Little Children Were Sacred report, and that's why I think all of this has happened so quickly.
You know, you're not going to attack white bad parents too, white people. Not only black fellas. It's good and bad in both worlds.
That's right.
Because, you know, whatever happened to reconciliation? Just a few years ago, you had what, how many million people walk past that Sydney Harbour Bridge? And I was pretty happy about that.
I understand your frustration. I do.
I'm not only frustrated, just it happening too long. I don't want you standing up there and say, yeah, we're going to help, and then go away and forget about it.
I don't believe that will happen.
Well, I hope not. I just really hope not, because I like to see this thing fair as.
What's it like to be in that front line?
It's not personal. You know that it's not personal. It's actually about government policies and legislation, and our job is just to try to explain those as best as we can. Well, I know I ask myself that question every day. You know, can I keep doing this job? You know, do I genuinely believe in you know, parts of this intervention? And you know, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't hearing from Indigenous people myself that a lot of these changes are what they want, you know.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I don't feel too happy about that, because the question I was asking them was, how come they're taking all Aboriginal people as pedophiles, right? And they're not doing it to the white society. And they're only identifying the bad white parent, not the good white parent. Well, see, I'm a good black parent. And me and my wife, we budget our money properly, where we allow 600 for taka, 400 for clothes, and 200 I take for my wife, that she wants to buy some stuff for herself. Out of my full pay, I only get $50 to spend. All my money go to my wife, because I don't drink or smoke or gamble.
But now?
Well, now it's sort of bugging us up. We can't budget. See? And if I start my own business, they're still going to be putting their hands in my missus' pocket.
There's some tricky moments, though. It's hard to explain why some of the welfare changes applied to Indigenous people and not non-Indigenous people. Sort of obtusify a bit by emphasising that, acknowledging that it is racially distinctive and geographically specific. However, that's not a permanent arrangement, that those rules will apply to everyone in fairly short order. So that's the best you can do. I mean, you have to acknowledge the fact it's a racially based decision.
The health department was ready to provide emergency medical teams, but the Sunrise Health Clinic had already checked the children. Phil, the community nurse, has been doing these health checks for the last 4 years. The new checks confirmed what he already knows. Hearing problems are the priority concern.
We had a fairly big visit from a health team. There was a number of people come out, and you know, perhaps maybe a phone call beforehand could have said, look, how are you going with your health checks? Yes, we can give you this information if it's okay. Perhaps could have even saved the visit.
The Defence Force was on standby to provide practical support to the medical teams.
They're not involved in any of the other programs and not involved in any of the policing, none of that, that you've probably seen in the media or even recorded yourselves, I don't know. But and it looks like this community probably won't need a separate health team anyway, so just sitting here enjoying the sun.
Conway Bush lives in Beswick, where he was a CDEP worker.
That was supposed to be in there. That was due, that went in, but that never went in.
In the 4 weeks since the government scrapped the work scheme, he says he's received no redundancy payment or Centrelink dole payment. Like everyone in his community, Conway was called into a meeting with Centrelink, where he and his wife were expected to give consent for half of their family support income to be quarantined.
I don't know how much you get.
So you're saying to me that if my missus don't sign it, right?
If she doesn't have that interview.
Yep, if she don't have that interview, they're going to go ahead and deduct her money anyway.
They're going to take half of it anyway.
Even if we don't like it.
Absolutely.
Read this, I'll go home.
Yeah, come back and talk to me.
Yeah.
No worries.
Oh, thank you. I got the right thing. Yep, no worries. Thank you. We'll challenge it. We'll challenge it. But whether we win or not, it's another story. There's some things I approve of what they're doing, some things I don't. You know? And this Centrelink stuff is wrong. It's very wrong. My family, which keeps me positive. Family is number one. I've got all the merit card for all my children, attending school, the whole wall of it. This one works at Deloitte's Associates. She goes to school, she goes to school, she goes to school. David goes to school, Karen and Charlene goes to school. And this young fella will be going next year. And when we go fishing, especially Karen, this one, she likes writing stories about us. Certificate of Excellent Language Award goes to Karen, this one here. And that was in 2003. You know, me, her father, I'm from Arnhem Land, her mother's from Dale River. But she knows my language and she knows her mother language and she also speaks Creole and English. I feel insulted because it makes me feel like I've never been a parent. You know, how can I've never been a parent? My daughter wouldn't have been to where she is today. You know? It makes me feel very bad. And I suffer from depression. And you know, that's why I've got to be positive at all times. Because if I break down, my kids break down. The kids won't get the education because I can't perform as a parent to put food on the table, clothes on their back, and make them happy all the time. Because at the end of the day, the kids get affected more than what we get infected about life. But I just lift my head and I'm proud to be a black fellow of this country. I don't care what people say.
So that's been the worst of this intervention, that idea?
That part, going to town with your wife to do shopping. People look at you sideways thinking, I wonder if he's a pedophile, that black fella over there. You know? But I just look at it as what life throws at my face. Scrap it, sort it out, all the rubbish, and keep the positive ones.
The intervention was designed by the former Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, Mal Brough, and implemented in 2007. But the call for a dramatic intervention began a year earlier, when the Crown Prosecutor from Alice Springs, Nanette Rogers, stated her case on national television.
All child sexual assault in Central Australia is happening at much higher rates than are currently being reported to police, as is violence on Aboriginal women and children.
Nanette Rogers' revelations about violence in Central Australia spurred the Northern Territory Government to commission the report, Little Children Are Sacred. Rex Wild, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, was one of the authors.
And that general picture was that there was widespread sexual abuse of children and that the adult people, in particular the women who were prepared to be more outspoken about these things, the women in particular said, yes, we do have that as a problem in our community and we do need some help.
Sunrise Health has 8 remote clinics, which Irene Fisher is responsible for. Her clinics are spread over 75,000 square kilometres and they serve around 3,500 patients each year. This region is 1,000 kilometres away from Central Australia, where the abuse allegations originated.
I can only speak for the Katherine East region, and it's certainly not rampant in our communities. I'm aware of what the stats are, and that's very little.
Irene has spent 20 years working in healthcare. Nowadays, she spreads news of the intervention.
Damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like, if you say you don't support the intervention, it implies that you're supporting child abuse. Well, that's obviously ludicrous. We've been fighting against that kind of thing. We want extra policing. These are things that we've wanted. We want improved housing. But it seems we have to give up rights in order to get what should be our right as Australian citizens.
People like Nell Brown have no rights to appeal against the intervention. They live in remote communities, and for them alone, the Racial Discrimination Act has been suspended. The government suspended the Act because it's believed abuse is widespread, and therefore anyone living in a remote community may be a danger to children.
That's the one thing they have to learn about. Like government people that love their children, well, it's same like Aboriginal people.
Communities, take care of them. Very extended family. Yeah. You know, there's always another next of kin who looks after that certain kin.
Another next of kin.
And it's just so extended, you know, as European family. So there's always a shelter, a roof on top of their head, a table, and a bed to sleep on. Children are not neglected. Children are not scared, because there's individual families there who take care of them.
They're treating us, I don't know,
like rubbish.
Just like rubbish. The government have to be true. Their word have to be true. Not only in word, they have to do the action too.
The question that needs to be asked of the emergency response team is, well, how many child sexual abuse cases have been recorded since this very expensive intervention, and how can they continue to justify the actions that they're doing when they're not getting any results?
At this time, 5 months into the intervention, the anticipated flood of abuse charges were not appearing in media reports. Coincidentally, the language of the intervention shifted from sexual abuse to poverty. Sadly, poverty is in plain view in all remote communities. Tanya lives in Binjari with her 2 daughters and her mother.
This is the girls. It's our room in here, where the girls are. A lot of the, like the flooring here is just, it's big gaps under there and everything, and you get a lot of centipedes scuttling in. Yeah. This is all like Taisha's things. She loves reading. So we're trying to get a real variety of books and stuff for her.
Another kid, he was our leader.
Good. We just got all bundled up into the same package, and they just judge you the way that, because I'm on a community, my kids must get abused and things like that, and I can't handle money. This here just needs to check that you're in a democracy. There are laws put in place that help protect minority groups. It is supposed to be set up so that you're not discriminated against.
Well, why do most of the Aboriginal people have to go into Centrelink all the time to get their money handled?
The government's only just changed that law so that, it's... can't really answer that.
We were promised that they were going to be doing up the houses and doing things with all this money that was given from the intervention, but that hasn't happened.
Living across the street from Tanya, and also under income management, Lily and her sister Queenie, who both spent their lives working for Lord Vestey, on a massive cattle station sitting on their traditional lands.
Auntie Lily's the one that talks a lot. Auntie Lily, she's about 80-something. And Auntie Queenie's 72, right?
You mean Betty?
Looking after the house, the manager's house.
Long time. They used to mop them,
When they used to pay him of sugar, flour and tea at that time,
that's all. And flour, sugar, and
this. One I've been working large now.
Yeah.
Well, I've been not with manager, cabin. Well, you told me, no? You've been a job, no? I mean, telling me, you've been a job. You've been go lang cross the bridge. You've been to live in that side.
Silver City, they've been calling me.
Yeah.
Silver City.
Because it was all tin houses like this, like, yeah.
You've been to live in there. Big window breaking one. You look. Big window breaking one. You can go in. Big window breaking one. You look. Which one?
Oh, it'd be easily 40 odd degrees, you know. 40, maybe 42, 43. Very hot. This is what the old people have to live.
I got him all married there. Gigi, Mary. I got him.
The two old lady, and there's another old lady, but she's gone to town. She normally sleeps there, but the two aunties stay here. Yeah.
The old ladies pay $40 rent each week for their tin shack to the Kalano Aboriginal Association. They don't have a bathroom, they use the community's ablution block. And they don't have a kitchen. Their water supply comes from a garden tap. The government intends to repair these houses to the value of $10,000 per house. The intervention has created new housing, mainly for public servants. Government business managers like Trish Canty have moved in. She manages 3 communities east of Katherine: Barunga, Beswick and Eva Valley.
It's a very busy role and it's a very important role, but coupling that with actually living with the community and feeling like I can actually help to explain the government business to the community and importantly find out what the community actually want and how they want that government business to come into the community, because I'm up here for a 12-month posting, so it can be a bit tough, a bit isolated, you know. So every few weeks or so, fax here, you know, make sure I get some sort of contact with them. I go home as often as I can.
Trish Canty has the potential to make a massive difference to these communities. Local people are hoping her talents as a bureaucrat will shine and higher levels of federal government money will flow in. Conway Bush is already one of the lucky ones. According to government reports, out of every 10 CDEP workers, only 2 now have a Commonwealth job.
Came back here and scored another 3 weeks worth of contract till we got the flood, and then I had to be concentrating on the flood, moving the people. Well, what can you say to people? Outside, that is, not inside.
Conway is grading the corrugated road to Eva Valley in preparation for the coming flood season. Access along this road is critically important to the residents.
There isn't no shop. We had one, but that's not here now. Because ever since I moved from Barunga to here, we had to travel into town to get food out the Woolies.
For Rachel to buy food, she must take a taxi into Katherine, 100 kilometres away. There is no public transport, and Rachel can't afford a car. Soon, when her pension becomes managed, she will only have access to half her money in cash. It's from this small amount she must pay the taxi fare.
How much the taxi fare from here to Katherine?
$220.
$220.
Yeah. Take credit cards. No.
Each way?
Each way.
they have all that money for the well-being of our children and the community, well, they should be putting it to some sort of a plan, to help those communities that are struggling with all these issues.
And I'll pick you up at about 1 o'clock. Information centre, you think?
Yeah.
Better? Yeah.
See you there then.
Okay, at 1 o'clock.
Wait.
5 months into the intervention, and remote communities are now dry zones. Alcohol is prohibited. But the township of Katherine is free of these restrictions. The freedom to drink has attracted alcoholics to move in.
Hi, we from Bestwick, and we just got in. I just said it just drink some beer.
Many just get trapped in town because they can't afford the taxi fare home.
Yeah, you can eat in the bus. You'll have to eat in the bus.
For taxi drivers like John, the new laws mean heavy fines for taking alcohol into dry communities.
All it does is it makes it harder on us. It doesn't make it harder on the drunks. We've still got to try and stop them carrying the alcohol. Not how it should be. We're just carrying them. We should be the ones responsible for what they carry and smuggle. Very difficult. All right, everybody out of the taxi, yeah? I've got to check the taxi. No, it's empty.
Oh, empty.
Yeah, should show her the empty water. All these areas we've got to check alcohol. All right, come on, you're right. Yep, you're right. Come on, mate. Seatbelt, and we'll head off again. Yeah, you're going to get bored again.
In Katherine, alcoholics are assisted by their own people, the Kalano Community Patrol, situated 1 kilometre from the centre of town.
Just show your professionalism. 3 of you get out, ask them nicely, come on old fella, you shouldn't be sleeping here. You want a hand to go to the Sobrop or somewhere? And they'll say, yeah, all right. So pick them up and take them up to the Sobrop shelter. So good on you boys, make your best effort today. Do what you got to do out there. If there was no patrol, I mean, what are people be left with? They'll be terrorised by the police. Manhandled, thrown here, get into court, get sent to jail, things like that,
Stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. Come on. Walk this way. We'll take a spin ride, go have a rest of spin ride.
It's like we can make them understand that you don't need to be here, You can go back to your community.
Since the intervention, with more drunks on the streets of Katherine, there is a greater need for community patrol, but the staff conditions are all in doubt.
As patrollers, we need that manpower,
Prior to the intervention, Davis had a workforce of community employment or CDEP wage earners. Since CDEP was scrapped, most of his staff now work for the dole.
And they don't want to come and work for the dole. And the ones in the red that I've put on the board, none of them coming down telling us what are the wages for this type of hours. They're just saying, well, these mob here are allowed to do 15 hours, these mob here are allowed to do 13 hours. But what is the current wages? We don't know.
The people don't know?
No, we don't know. If we don't know, they don't know. Yeah.
The changes moved so quickly, dole payments couldn't keep pace.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them too, brother. They're still waiting for their first pay.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of setbacks since that change came up where CDP been knocked on the head.
It's come in about 3 weeks ago, and a lot of them people are still waiting
for
get
wages
their
from Centrelink.
First wages.
Yeah.
And this coming up to 4 weeks now.
Yeah.
Feeling a bit of stress, David?
Bugger, yeah. Heaps. You know, from a scale from 1 to 10, I'll say 9.5. But I'm trying to keep head above water, more or less. Yeah.
The Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Australia, John Howard, and Mrs. Janet.
The Northern Territory intervention has been a veritable watershed.
Labor has 53% of the vote, the Coalition 47, a swing of 5.6% to the ALP.
I therefore accept full responsibility for the Coalition's defeat.
Labor 86, a majority of 22. It was personal humiliation for Mr Howard too. He appears to have lost the seat of Bennelong. Kevin Rudd can't wait to get going.
To unite and write a new page in our nation's history.
Cabinet Minister Mal Brough was swept away in Longman.
The fact is, he simply did not know when to leave.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I will be a Prime Minister for all Australians.
So I called my sister and asked her who won that election, and she said Kevin Rudd, and she told me what Kevin said. I'm going to be the Prime Minister for all Australians. And me and her was crying on the phone, and she said, can you hear me? Yeah, I've got tears in my eyes.
They sound positive, but they're politicians. That's all they are to me. They're just politicians. Throw promises and see you later, Jack. I'm in power now. I hope they mean what they say. I hope they mean what they say.
The intervention always had bipartisan support, so the new government position was no surprise.
We've got to give this a fair run in order to make a properly informed assessment of its effectiveness.
The new Prime Minister called for a review of the intervention at the 12-month anniversary.
I could say to those opposite.
Australia has a new Prime Minister, but in Eva Valley, it's business as usual for Rachel. Centrelink have called her in to budget her quarantined pension money.
That's a lot.
Yeah, too much.
For phone?
I think it's enough there. Excuse me?
For remote people like Rachel, collecting her vouchers is a problem. They are dispensed from Centrelink in Katherine, 100 kilometres away, and no buses are provided for the trip. In Binjari, Lily is a little better off. She can get a lift into Katherine with Tanya and her mum to pick up the food vouchers.
To be coming too. Come on! I've got to tell them everything.
They live 20 kilometres away. Often, people try and walk the distance.
Oh, look your big mobile. Oh, look how many people here are.
It's Saturday and the Centrelink office is open, but the doors are locked. It's now wet season and the temperature is 38 degrees. Inside, there is air conditioning, toilets and chairs. But no one is allowed in. Staff step out to do business.
James, come. That lady, no, eh?
People wait for hours to get their vouchers.
toilet, isn't it?
That's fucked, all right.
It's a terrible thing, you know. You come in early this early?
Nine.
Oh, no. Well, you know, it's nearly going off at 12 o'clock.
Do you know how much was in there? In here?
No, darling. Couldn't tell you.
So you don't check the balance?
We do, but because we're doing it on Saturday morning, if you want to know what your balance is, you'll have to come in on Monday.
Oh.
Okay? Because, yeah, we don't have time because there's so many to try and get through, doll.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. This one here. She only gave me 100, eh? She couldn't tell me whether there was any more in it. So I have to come back next week, I suppose.
Nell Brown got a lift in from Barunga, 80 kilometres away.
Yeah, we have to wait. It's so horrible. Coming from far away, you know? From Barunga, we have to wait 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours. Taking so long, you know? Sometimes it makes us feel like to just leave these things and come another week. That is 2008, things have to change.
Initially, all quarantined food money was sent to Woolworths because they had an electronic system in place.
What you was looking for before?
Got one for 100 here. It's embarrassing. You go to Woolies and people looking at you and everyone else got money, but you got these cards, you know. It's a shame job, eh?
The smaller shops lost business to Woolworths. They didn't have the technology or the staff to administer the quarantined money.
We've been looking after the Aborigines for 15 years, and there's a lot of them that prefer to shop here, but they're just not given the choice at the moment. Yeah, they like to take the bulk flour and bulk sugar and like that because they like to make the damper and all that type of stuff, and I'd say it's better value to buy 10 kilos and buy 1 kilo. We used to sell quite a lot of that. I mean, everything in the shop. I mean, the alcohol has stayed the same, so it wasn't alcohol money that I've lost. I've physically lost groceries, fruit and veg, meat. The fears for me, my family and my business partners is that we can't sustain to continually lose $1,000 odd a day in our turnover and have all our costs stay the same.
6 months into the intervention, the township of Katherine is now a dry zone. There is an on-the-spot fine of $100 if caught drinking in public. Repeat offenders will face a court magistrate.
I'm going to look after him. I said I would. You know me, I'm that good one. Just conducting patrols of Katherine now, looking for people that might be breaching the liquor laws that are in place in the town. Check on the welfare of this fella. He might just be sleeping or he might be really drunk. And if he's really drunk, we will give him a lift. I can smell alcohol on your breath. Any knives or weapons or nothing? All right, hop in.
Homeless people who live in the bush surrounding Katherine are now in danger of getting fines that will eat into the 50% cash they have remaining from income management.
Can you show me? I have to confiscate this one because you were drinking that grog here.
It's not open.
It doesn't matter, but if you were drinking him, I could give you a $100 fine. So you're lucky this time, I'll give you that warning.
Thank you for that anyway.
So you need to leave now.
Where you dig this? We're just
Sorry?
clean up. Where you got to take him?
I'm going to take that back to the police station and destroy it. Where's that little secret spot you've hidden the rest of it, eh?
Where's the rest of the grog?
Finish. That's only one left.
Ah. All right, I saw you drink that grog, so which community are you from? Tip him, thinks. Tip him out.
I'm from Barcelona.
Tip him out, please. You have to come back with me to talk to me at the police car.
Why?
Because I've got to give you that ticket for drinking grog.
Nah, I don't want to get locked up.
Oh, you are so drunk. Come on, darling, up this way. I'll help you. All right, thank you. I'll help you so you don't fall over.
No,
come on, missus, just Calm down, relax. Have you got any knives or weapons?
No.
No worries, thank you. My husband, he forced me. I wish my wife forced me to drink alcohol. Okay. Everyone knows that everyone's there to help. Seems to be working all right. Is he drunk?
I don't know. He's acting stupid to me.
Oh, okay. Has he been cheeky? Has he been cranky?
The police work in partnership with Kalano Community Patrol.
Have you been that fishing spot lately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I beat you.
Did you? Did you get a barrel? Oh. Hello.
Gavin.
What's his name? Gavin.
Gavin. You got place here now.
This is where Catherine's dry zone ends. Here, it's safe to drink without incurring a fine.
That's where they come right up here and drink.
Whether it's safe from harm is another question.
They conveyor things through here all the time, all these big trucks. And if our mob are here drinking and they're walking back 7 or 8 o'clock at night, it's far too dangerous.
Yeah, trucks like that now.
If those people are going to come out here and drink alcohol, it's endangering their life, and our business is to deliver our service with compassion and empathy and prevent things from happening. And, I mean, placing laws like this is ridiculous. It's not going to work.
So you reckon this intervention is helping things,
I don't think you're helping anything.
This is going to extreme. And it's some kind of madness extreme, where no one's going to be the winner here. The people that comes out here and drink, they're the one that's going to lose their life on the road, you know? The intervention really is depriving people of their liberty as individuals, as Australian citizens and TOs of this country.
Drying up the rivers of grog was an effort by the federal government to stop what they described as widespread sexual assault of Aboriginal children.
Wes, you got a moment?
Sure.
Just got the latest media release on the stats.
Irene Fisher from Sunrise Health takes this issue to heart.
Aboriginal child sex numbers put in perspective. 39 of nearly 7,500 Aboriginal examined.
What percentage is that?
Wes Miller heads up the parent organisation to Sunrise, the Jarwin Association. They represent the traditional owners of Katherine.
0.52%.
Where's all this rampant sexual abuse? And I notice it doesn't necessarily say it's for sexual abuse either. It could be neglect.
So all that hoo-ha about it doesn't stack up with the figures.
And all the insults to our men.
It's exactly what we thought was the case.
How come that's not hitting the headlines?
Wes and Irene are both members of the Stolen Generation and both from Jarwin country. They met as adults when they travelled back to Katherine and discovered their mothers were sisters.
I've been through the powerlessness of being removed from your parents and having a life as a ward of the state under so much government control. When the intervention began, I felt that same sense of frustration welling up within me. It was so reminiscent of that time.
There was a lot of anger. The men felt like they were being branded. Child molesters, pedophiles, wife bashers, all those sort of stereotypical tags. And a lot of these people I've known for many years, and they're very kind, decent human beings. And we're saying, well, why is this happening to us? What have I actually done wrong? And a lot of those people hadn't done anything wrong. But they felt like they'd done something wrong. They felt like they were criminals. They felt like they were not very good mothers or parents.
9 months into the intervention, and the task force leaders are flying in for their first visit into 2 of the communities we've been filming in.
How are you?
I'm good. Good flight?
Yeah.
Major General Dave Chalmers, the operational manager in charge, and Chairperson Dr Sue Gordon.
Or you can jump in some
Oh, why
cars
don't we
here
walk
with
then
us?
if we're... It's just a...
Places like Catherine to resolve.
These communities in the Katherine East, most of them are members of the Jana Association.
Well, that's why we've got a government
And we
business
say
manager.
we don't know because
Yeah.
nobody's talking to us.
No one was directed not to talk to service providers, okay? Our job was to get out into communities and talk to the communities, okay? But now, government business managers, if you want to find something out, you can talk to a government business manager. You're coming in and out providing a service.
It's not just about telling us what's happened, it's about engaging with us in the decision making and strategising for solutions.
Oh, you mean you're coming in from the outside and you're seeing some changes, but no one spoke to you about what that was?
No, well, no one even consulted in terms of... We have a vast experience in these regions, and many of the community business managers have come, you know, straight from Canberra with no experience in remote
We know them
communities.
very closely and we know the situation on the ground very well.
You know, our job is to work to the communities.
What I'm saying is we are part of the community. We're not separate. And
No, I know
that's
that, but
that's
the community who are living here, you're providing them a service in a whole range of different things. But if they want to have you involved in the discussions, then that's fine.
It's what Wes says, you can't separate us from the community, we are part of the community.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm being taken off somewhere to the school.
Yes, okay then.
Okay. I didn't have a piece of
Damper.
I'm a diabetic.
This process of the intervention has been totally disempowering and demoralising. People try to raise children under extremely difficult and impoverished circumstances, and just because a child mightn't look well dressed doesn't mean that that child's not nurtured and loved. So what would you say to people that have had grievances over the last 9 months under the intervention?
Well, I'd say to them that they should focus on the essential problems that intervention was brought about by, and that is that children across the Northern Territory and remote communities were suffering abuse, the neglect abuse, or in worst cases sexual abuse, that was widespread, so much so that the Little Children of Sacred report caused or was the catalyst that sparked the federal government to intervene.
Do you have numbers on children in this region that were being abused? Because a lot of adults are saying they feel like they're being cast as pedophiles and neglectful parents, and they don't know of great numbers of children in this area.
Well, I think you have to be very careful there. Even if we had numbers, we don't go around telling people we have numbers. They're issues for the police and child protection, territory child protection people to worry about. We're not out there trying to count people who may well be. The only thing we have gone on from the beginning of this, as the General referred to, was the Little Children of Sacred report that went to 45 communities where they were told about child sexual abuse.
How many cases were handed over to the police?
Not very many, probably half a dozen at most that we spoke of, that were active live cases. But that wasn't our job, as I've been telling people for the last 12 months. Our job, as we saw it, was to try, as we worked through it, was to try and fix the underlying problems that led to it.
All of this has been implemented and has set Indigenous people back decades, where Indigenous people have been stripped of their rights and are controlled by the government.
Glenn Dooley is the senior lawyer at NAJA, the peak legal service for Aboriginal offenders in the Northern Territory.
On 21st of June 2007...
So there was a very immediate effort by the Territory Police to uncover this child sexual abuse that's never been uncovered. We are getting cases of 19 and 20-year-old young men having consensual sex with their 14 and 15-year-old girlfriends, yes. They've been around, they're around everywhere, but now those guys are getting charged and they're going to jail. So and they'll be written up as child sex cases in the grab bag of stats that will be pushed out into the public. So the public will hear in due course, oh yes, there's been 15 blokes done for child sex offences in the Northern Territory as a courtesy of the work of the police and the intervention, but they're not the cases that were feared.
The men are the losers. Those who can stand on their own 2 feet, they're pretty much okay. But those who can't, through, like I said, the effect of intervention, they've just been sort of pushed aside and left in the dark. You can see a lot of them now just come into town, and they actually been forced away from their families, or they have been heavy drinkers in the time, but there hasn't been any follow-up to sort of get them off it. They've just been pushed out of the community, or their nerves have went and they just run away and go live in the nearest town where they can get what they need. Yeah, it's good for the children, but it's bad for the cultural men and the women who had stood by their men, to see them get diminished like that, rubbished. And there has been sort of fallouts in relationships through that.
One year on, and communities have received boosted funding due to the intervention. Jake, the council manager for Barunga and Beswick, now has money to spend.
There are a lot of other organisations and people that still are quite anti-intervention and quite don't see the positives and the good outcomes that come of it, but time, It's only been 12 months, and the amount of money that's come through these places, we wouldn't have had that in 12 years. So I think everyone needs to be patient. The more patient everyone is, the more things everyone will see and more positive outcomes that people will see.
Yeah.
So this is for household rubbish.
Trish Canty has sourced from government over $1.3 million for Barunga alone. Some of the visible results are a lot of new fences, like this one at the dump site.
Yeah.
Recycling starting to happen.
Keeping the children out. I mean, it's keeping the children
And it's also
safe.
the barbed wire is more so to catch any rubbish.
In Eva Valley, Rachel also had a visit from the intervention. She too is getting a new fence.
Intervention bring some good stuff and some are not good.
For Tanya, in Binjari, frustration has set in.
I know for housing, nothing's changed at all. There's no cooking or gas or, ovens or anything. But so we get wood delivered from Kalano. But as far as housing, no, nothing has changed.
Tanya's family are going interstate to visit relatives.
I'd like for it to change so that at least I know that I've got a bit of dignity again, because all that's been taken away. Yeah, I'd like to see all that stop so that I do have a bit of power to, go where I want to go in life without being controlled.
I mean, these people have had, in the past, huge amounts of government control over their lives, even down to the language, that they spoke and everything. So that skill to survive through that hardship is still there.
Almost 1 year into the intervention, Barunga staged their annual cultural festival, a proud time of year for the Jawoyn people. It's also when the burning off occurs.
What we do here in the Northern Territory is every year at the end of the wet season, the burning of the old. It's getting rid of the old and bringing in the new, and that's what the theme of this festival is.
At the 1 year anniversary, the intervention was still in place. Concerning child abuse, the Northern Territory Police reported 8 arrests and 3 convictions. Communities had their permit system reinstated. CDEP had been partially restored. And the Centrelink voucher system was working in most shops. However, bottle shop owners in Katherine were reporting alcohol sales were as strong as ever. And there was still no public transport in the 4 communities we filmed in.
Young people want like what everyone wants, really. You know, they're no different really in their desires. To close the gap, and it's really about closing the gap on Aboriginal disadvantage. And we all have to work together on that. It cannot be something imposed from Canberra or anywhere else. It has to come from the hearts and minds of everyone.